This edict identifies Jesus of Nazareth as a heretic and a blasphemer.
This season on The Chosen.
There are those for whom this will set off a series of events. My followers won't understand.
Lazarus, come out!
I guess you're not holding back anymore.
I can't. I'm out of time.
See Season 4 of The Chosen in theaters on February 1st, starting with episodes 1, 2, and 3. Get your tickets now at thechosenriseup.com.
This is Hammond.
And Jessica.
And you're listening to the Friendly Atheist Podcast. If you like what you're listening to, please go to patreon.com/Friendly Atheist Podcast. Hello.
How's it going,
We've
Hammond?
had a crazy little time here trying to fix equipment that was broken. We think we got it working, but who knows? If you're hearing this, something good happened.
Well, it's not that we got the thing working. We bought a new thing.
We bought a new thing.
Thank
we'll see
you,
if it
Guitar
works.
Center. We went in to get something fixed, and they're like, instead, do you want to buy a thing? And we're like, actually, yes.
Sadly, the answer was yes.
So patreon.com/Friendly Atheist Podcast, please,
There
God.
you go.
I have vet bills. I have this bill now.
Anyway, so we're going to get started because there's so many things after
Yeah.
like 2 weeks of not talking that we want to get
And
to.
we're going to rock and roll through this.
Let's get to this thing that involves the Mike Pence rule again, because it came up again.
So it's originally the Billy Graham rule.
It is.
And that rule is a man chooses not to be alone with a woman.
Right. Especially if you're a prominent individual and a
Right.
good Christian man,
Right.
you would never be alone with any other woman who's not your wife. Not because, and this is what they would say, not because you're afraid of what you're going to do, because you're not a monster.
No.
But you're kind of afraid of what she might do, because she's a hussy. And also you're more afraid of what the perception's going to be, because everyone's going to be like, oh no, what are you two doing?
Yeah, which is why I feel like that never made sense and it was never right. I get it in like the 50s when women weren't in the workplace as
Right.
prominently.
Why would they be alone with you at all?
Right.
But now, I mean, here's the problem with the reason Mike Pence got crap for it is because when you're the vice president and you say, I can't be alone with another woman, you're basically saying, hey, Nikki Haley was the ambassador to the UN, but you can't talk to her privately
And it's not
about
super
foreign
great
policy.
that Nikki Haley is the only woman in that cabinet I can think of off the top of my head.
Right, but it's like, yeah, you're cutting off women from speaking to you in a professional setting. Okay.
And that means that not only is bad for your career, it's hindering women's career, because if Hammett wouldn't hire me because he doesn't want to be in a room alone with me, I could not have this prosperous position as a podcaster.
Right. So in Mississippi, because you know it has to happen in Mississippi, there are three men.
The American South has to get its shit
There
together.
are three men running for governor on the Republican side.
What?
At least,
Republicans in Mississippi?
3 men who are being considered. Like, there's probably some others that are no-namers who are not going to get it. But 3 men have the chance to win the GOP primary, and it's Mississippi. If you win the primary, you're winning this election.
Right.
So, like, the odds-on favorite is the lieutenant governor, Tate Reeves. There's another guy, Bill Waller. And both of them, Mississippi Today, the media outlet, said, hey, we want a reporter to tag along with you for the last month of this primary campaign. And they were like, yeah, the reporter's name is what? Adam? Yeah, that's cool. He can follow the 2 of us. He has split duties. The last guy in the race is a state representative, Robert Foster. And they said, okay, we're going to send a reporter named Larison, who's a woman. She's going to follow you. And by follow, I mean they're going to tag along. They're going to watch you interact with other people. They're going to ask you questions.
They're going to report on you.
They're going to report on you.
They're going to do some journalism.
Yeah. And Foster's team basically wrote back to Mississippi Today and said, no. If she's a woman, she cannot follow me because she can't be seen with me. And in fact, here's what his campaign director said.
Can't be seen with me?
Because the pictures that show a woman who is not his wife talking to him, maybe like tagged as, oh, who's this like shameless hussy?
You can say hussy.
Yeah. So he said, the manager said, unless you have her accompanied by a male colleague, she cannot follow him around anywhere.
So what I think is fascinating about this is they are showing their hand so hard. Like they do not consider women their peers, right? Women are either a token or a nuisance or something. You know what I mean? Like they consider women an other. And that's why they think, oh, if somebody looks at a picture of me and this other journalist, it's not me and another professional. It is me and a human woman with boobs and probably a vagina. But
By the
not
way,
necessarily.
Not that it matters, but she's a lesbian. Like, it doesn't even matter here. But anyway, they said the optics are what we're afraid of, that a working reporter...
And listen, she doesn't want your wrinkly dick, my dude.
Dude, I know. The optics are what we're afraid of, that it might be used in a smear campaign to insinuate an extramarital affair. And here's the thing about that. One, do you think she's with you in your hotel room? She's not.
What do you think journalism is?
And two, like, how little respect do you have for the people that you're trying to win votes from that you think, oh, if they see her talking to me,
they're all fucking idiots.
They're all going to do this.
Like, they show their hands so hard. It's just kind of like what's going on with Epstein this week. Of like, quick sidebar about Republicans being monsters. So Epstein is a pedophile and a child sex trafficker,
allegedly,
and he finally got,
but not really allegedly.
Yeah. But anyway, a lot of people online. He's got ties with Trump. He's got ties with a lot of like well-to-do men in politics.
He's got some ties to some scientists too.
Oh, does he?
Because he's funded them.
Oh,
yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of people on Twitter who are like, well, Democrats, what happens if he's tied to Bill Clinton? We're like, fuck Bill Clinton. Like,
right.
Yeah, I don't give a fuck. Like,
dude, we got rid of Al Franken.
Yeah,
we can deal with
it. So shows their hand to be like, well, yeah, it's probably gonna be a lot of Republicans that go down. But what if a Democrat does? We're like, suck my dick, Democrat. Get the fuck out of my life. If you're a pedophile, you're not part of my party.
Right.
Anyway, that was the sidebar I wanted to make sure we talked about.
So Mississippi is where we were going with this.
Sure.
And it's telling that they also said, well, fine, you can have her follow our campaign and we'll provide a chaperone. They didn't even offer that.
Embarrassing. How fucking dare they? God, men are such trash. How do you continue to be a man?
Republican men. Be specific. Anyway.
So, and what I think is interesting, I want to just backtrack a little bit, because this is, we call it the Mike Pence rule. It's been called the Billy Graham rule in the past. And there is talk of like, oh, this is because of Me Too, right? Like, women are accusing men who almost always are like serial offenders and very infrequently a one-off monster. But it's not like Billy Graham was living in the Me Too movement. This has always been a deep-set paranoia.
Yeah.
That I don't think men trust themselves.
I've heard this from some Christian writers, too, who were like, dude, Billy Graham at the top of his game had like, he was pretty much like a rock star with groupies coming after him after his events. He, maybe you could argue, legitimately had a reason to say, this is going to make my ministry look bad if it's insinuated that way. This guy, Foster, he is not Billy Graham. And no one's trying to be alone with this guy.
Well, and also, let's not confuse like fans and supporters and quote unquote groupies, however you want to consider that, versus colleagues. Like, if you like, if a random woman came up to you in a bar and was talking to you, like, that is a different situation than
on the
you
campaign
and me
trail
sitting in a room together. Like,
right.
If you can't parse the difference between like a person being professional and having a professional relationship with a person and like trying to fuck them, like,
and
I'm not sure what to tell you guys.
If you're Foster, by the way, that would be a great story, too, of like, oh, my God, my Republican opponents are trying to smear me. Mm-hmm. Well, guess what? I got a reporter here. She's not on my side. She will attest to the fact that nothing happened.
But I don't...
That's good for your campaign if someone tried to smear you with a professional doing her job, and you're like, no, I respect professionals because I'm a good leader. Like, you could totally make this work.
Really and truly, though, do you think they don't trust women or they don't trust themselves? Like, if we're getting to, like, the heart of things.
I think they're so convinced that anytime a man is with a woman who's not his wife, because they're growing up in the culture, in these circles where, like, there's only one thing that can happen. There is no such thing as a professional relationship between two people of opposite sexes.
Yeah, and in that...
It doesn't
point of view,
in
like,
their world.
if you're a hammer, everything looks like a nail. If you're a misogynist, then women are only good for one thing, and that's fucking. Like, and so there's clearly nothing else they're bringing to the table, like a brain or writing skills or yelling into a microphone. Like, we have many skills. All right,
there you
fuck
go.
that shit.
All right, so here's a different story. This one's actually close to home. Olivet
Physically
Nazarene.
or emotionally?
Both.
Oh, I know somebody who went there.
Olivet Nazarene University, without getting into all the theology, very conservative Christian school. A guy named T.J. Martinson, he just finished his PhD. He just got hired a couple months ago to teach this fall at Olivet Nazarene University. He's going to teach English there, just outside of Chicago. And by the way, he's like, that's an awesome job because I graduated from that school, so I know the place.
Sure.
My parents met there. My grandparents met there.
Oh.
This place runs through my family.
That's adorable.
So he's got this job. So of course, again, when you're getting your PhD, even if you get like a stipend, you're not making money or anything.
No.
So one of the things he was able to do is he published a novel. And his novel is called The Reign of the Kingfisher. Don't ask me what it's about.
Kingfisher like the bird?
I don't know. It's a book. It's a novel. It's out there. Not
Emmett doesn't read fiction.
No. It's not a memoir. This is what's important. Not a memoir, not nonfiction.
Okay.
This is just stuff he made up because he wanted to
'Cause
tell a
that's how
story. That's how writing
works?
works. Which is good if you're an English teacher. Like, I want you to know how writing works.
I have such a bad feeling about this.
Yeah. So last week, maybe 2 weeks ago now, he posted on Facebook that he basically got an email from Olivet Nazarene University saying, we're taking back your job offer. Don't worry, we'll pay you for the year, but that you're not working for us and then we're firing you. So that's supposed to be his compromise there. But we're firing you. Why are we firing you? Because you're...
Can I guess?
Yes.
Is there a gay character in his book?
Yes, but that's not the only reason.
Is there adultery in the book? Is there sexy time in the book?
It's not
Okay,
like
just tell me.
graphic or anything. It's not like he's writing erotic
It's not
scenes.
smut.
And it's not smut. They said your novel contains profanity and other elements that conflict with the school's religious doctrine.
What are the other
Yeah.
elements?
Here's what they said. And this is what he said on Facebook. This is what they brought up to him. That portions of his novel demonstrated a lack of Christian morals. There was swearing in the book. There was a lesbian character. There was prostitution because one of his characters is a sex worker. He said one of the characters, one of the more puzzling critiques is that they mentioned a character who, when presented with the option, did not pray, but hoped for something to happen. And this is all coming from the school.
And this is, I'm sorry, you said this was an autobiography of this man's actual life.
This is totally a book. By the way, the person who sent him that email had not read the book. So here's the thing.
Oh, geez.
And he went through, he picked this apart because he has nothing else to do right now. The profanity in the book, here's what he said.
Oh, I'm so excited.
I had difficulty envisioning a homicide detective looking at a crime scene and saying, gosh darn it. What about the existence
I
of
wanna
the
read
sex
this book.
worker in the book? Reign of the Kingfisher is that. The sex worker. Someone please inform the writers of the Bible, or at least take out all references to Rahab and Mary Magdalene. What about the lesbian character? Fictional though she may be, she's based in the reality of a population whose strength and integrity in the face of continued oppression and prejudice amazes and inspires me to be a better person and to be an ally in any way I can be.
Oh.
He made this
What a
clear.
monster.
He made this clear that he is an ally of LGBTQ people. He says they knew this when they hired me. Now, it's entirely possible he doesn't think gay people should be married if you're a Christian, or that the government should recognize it. It's entirely possible he thinks if
T.J.
you're
Martinson?
gay... yes. It's possible that he thinks if you're gay, you should be celibate for life. But he said he's an ally to the LGBT community, at least when it comes to civil rights. So there you go. Take that as you will. What about the hoping instead of praying guy?
Yeah.
He said, quote, this particular character is an avowed atheist. To have her pray seemed ... out of character. And then he goes on to say, look, the goal of fiction is not to reveal yourself to a reader, but rather reveal to the reader the world they live in a way that they may have never encountered or thought of before.
He's explaining how fiction works to a fucking college.
As an English teacher.
Yikes.
And by the way,
on bikes.
like maybe the problem with his book is that all of these characters did not convert. It's not like Left Behind. It's not
Sure.
like God's Not Dead. I think what the school's like, well, you can have these characters, but what's the redemption part of this? And he's like, I'm not writing like some Christian novel. I'm writing a novel about real world people that I made up.
Oh my
And I'm trying to depict them accurately. Like the real world is R-rated.
This is
And
such
by
a
the
good
way,
story.
if the problem is like, oh, you depicted this stuff that goes against our values, like there's plenty of rape and genocide and murder in the Bible.
Yeah.
It is in Scripture. It is graphic. It's disturbing. To this guy's credit, because I probably
hang out with us?
he does not want to hang out with.
Oh.
us.
That's rude. I'm very fun.
I'm almost positive
I'm very fun at
he does
parties.
not want to hang out with us. But he did say, look, after he posted all this, and he's bummed out that he doesn't get to teach, and he doesn't get to teach
Sure.
at this school.
Yeah, losing a job sucks.
But he did say, like, don't take this out on them. Probably because he's like, look, I know how this school works. Like, this is a couple people who are not smart about this. Don't take it out on the students. Don't send her nasty emails.
Mm-hmm.
But he did say, like, look, if you want to support me or something, buy the book if you want, or donate to the Trevor Project, which supports LGBTQ people.
Oh, good for
like,
him.
good for him. But yeah, so that's why this guy doesn't have a job now. Because he wrote a book with unchristian characters.
That is buck wild.
Oh my God.
Ooh, $15 on Amazon. Let's take it easy, guy.
So,
I maxed out at 10.
Meanwhile, in Virginia,
Yeah.
there is a state senator, Amanda Chase. She wants people to know that she knows exactly who to blame when women are sexually assaulted.
Oh, I bet it's the men who perpetrated the assault.
It is not. Try
What?
again. Try again.
Can't believe it. It can't be the woman. She can't be blaming the victim, could she?
Oh, she's blaming the victim.
Who is this bitch?
Amanda Chase.
right.
She said on Facebook, it's those who are naive and unprepared that end up raped. Sorry, but I'm not going to be a statistic. Basically saying, hey, women, if you're not carrying a gun, then you kind of deserve it. That's her message.
Wow.
Yeah.
Fuck this cunt. I have many things to say about it, not the least of which is most rape doesn't happen that way. No, most rape isn't in a dark alley, and if you had a gun, you could... It is...
Having a weapon does not deter rape. Sexual assault is more often than not committed by someone you know, so you wouldn't need a gun around them, per se. And this idea that, yeah, again, it's the woman's fault and not the perpetrator's fault is just batshit crazy. She had a chance to correct herself. Reporters were like, what the hell are you talking about? And she...
Doubled down.
She doubled down.
Of course.
My reply was why I and tens of thousands carry in Virginia to avert possible bad situations. Blah, blah, blah. Second Amendment, Second Amendment.
Honestly, like, that's really what it always comes down to is when people talk about, like, capital R rape, that's what they always think is, like, some guy pulls you into an alley and, like, has his way with you and, like, leaves you to die or whatever. And that's not to say those things don't happen and that those aren't scary and an issue and there are serial rapists. All of those things are true. But realistically, that's not the scenario you're going to find yourself raped in. Like my own sexual assault, the sexual assault of most of my friends came at the hands of somebody I knew and trusted and did not take no for an answer or didn't understand what no meant or whatever. Like that is what it looks like. And that's what we need to do. And that's why when we say so and so is a rapist, but they don't seem like a rapist. A rapist doesn't mean anything. A rapist isn't
There's
like
no type.
There's no type. It's not some like scraggly guy who like lurks in shadows and wears the trench coat and flashes people. Like that's not who it is. It is your friend. It is your cousin. It is your sibling. Like that's who it is. And we can't ever forget that because when we say a rapist means X, we erase what most women experience in sexual assault. And that's not okay. And it's not a reflection of what's going on in the actual world.
She calls herself a champion of women.
Oh, suck my dick.
Champion for women, yeah. By the way, her opponent, her Democratic opponent...
Do you think it was unfeminist to tell her to suck my dick?
Yes.
Okay.
Her opponent is Amanda Pohl. Amanda, who's a Democrat, responded, our legislators should be making decisions based on evidence, not their emotional preferences. In environments where stalking, domestic violence, or the threat of sexual assault exists, the evidence tells us that the presence of a gun, blah, 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 makes it 5 times more likely that the victim will be killed.
Oh, I mean, that's the other thing. It's like if you are with a partner and there is domestic violence, having a gun in the house ups the chances of somebody getting fucking killed. And so the number of people who fend off intruders pales to the number of people who accidentally kill a partner or kill a partner in an escalated fight that didn't have to go that way. Like, guns are not fucking protecting you. I like
come
at me. I don't give a fuck.
The school in Florida, the school shooting there was a cop there. It didn't help.
Yeah, it's
you know what I mean.
And there's
Pulse nightclub had a
time and time again stories of like the quote unquote good guy with a gun who fucking ends up getting killed himself or like escalates the situation. A friend of mine, her coworker died because he was walking through the park with his girlfriend, got mugged, was carrying, and instead of doing whatever, calling the cops or giving him what he wanted or running away or whatever, he pulled out his gun, escalated the situation, then he fucking died. Fuck guns. You know what? At me. Come at me about guns. I'm feeling angry. I've had a really shitty week, and guns are going to take the brunt of it.
There you go.
And fucking whoever that guy is in Mississippi.
Done.
And this cunt. God damn it. I hope nobody listens to this.
Good thing this podcast is marked explicit. Florida. We have to talk about Florida. That there is
Florida,
a principal.
what are you guys doing?
There's a principal named William Latson who works at Spanish River Community High School in Boca Raton. And a parent, this happened last year.
Where's Boca Raton?
It's a city with old people. Someone emailed him last year and said, hey, I just want to know, like, what do you teach kids about the Holocaust? Because you have so much denial coming. I'm assuming. I'm just talking out of my ass.
I'm curious
but,
about what that
initial email was. There's a lot of
email
deniers, right? There's a lot of deniers out there. How do you all teach the Holocaust to kids at this high school? And
Can I read the quote?
Yeah, and this is the reporter issued a public records request and got these emails. And what did he say in response to the parent?
Quote, I can't say the Holocaust is a factual historical event because I'm not in a position to do so as a school district employee. Not everyone believes the Holocaust happened. You have your thoughts, but we are a public school and not all of our parents have the same beliefs. What?
As if educators have to be neutral on the Holocaust's existence. Yeah. Again, this is bad enough when it happens with climate change or evolution.
Yeah.
Like, I got to be neutral so I can't say what actually happened.
Quick sidebar.
But the Holocaust.
Did you learn, obviously you learned about evolution in high school, right?
I did.
Did they give any caveats?
No. I had good science teachers. But I will say this. I learned it, but I don't feel like I understood it.
No.
And I didn't understand
it's high
it
school science.
until I started reading it for myself, and that was after college. Like, I learned it, though. I never had any issues.
I've learned more about science post-college than I did, which isn't a failing of anybody besides like my ability to pay attention.
And I feel like I've maybe said this on the podcast, too. Like, I think my first time where I felt like I understood evolution, at least more than I did in the past, was reading Richard Dawkins' The Ancestor's Tale.
Oh, I was going to say The Greatest Show on Earth was my, like, kind of into it.
Yeah, The Ancestor's Tale was awesome. Like, it was a huge book, so I'm like, all right, who is this Dawkins guy? I've heard of him, but I never read it.
That was your first Dawkins?
Yeah, that was my first one, and I'm like, holy shit, this is a really awesome book.
Yeah.
Like I really want to read it again, and I haven't. But
I want to reread The God Delusion. Because when I was in high school, I took AP Bio sophomore year of high school, and I remember you go through all whatever, but we got to evolution, and I remember my teacher, Ms. Darrow, said something about like, we're teaching evolution. I understand not everybody's like beliefs include evolution. I am teaching you the science. And at that time, I didn't realize people actually didn't believe in evolution until I was a junior or a senior in college. I didn't know because everybody around me was like, if they didn't.
That's what happens when you go to a good school, right? Like, this is we got very lucky that we didn't have to deal with the bullshit that we see in other places. Yeah. But again, this dude in Florida is like the Holocaust. I got to be neutral about it.
Really hard. Now there's different opinions about whether 6 million Jews died.
By the way, the parent was like, maybe you misunderstood my question. Maybe you didn't understand, like, I'll give you another chance because, like, you did not just play
Which is my favorite thing of, like, I'm
going
to give you the opportunity to, like, walk this back. I don't think you meant to say what you said.
And then he said the exact same thing.
Jesus.
And this was a year ago. Like, this parent in question, who has been anonymous, I think, for the most part, has been trying to raise awareness of this for a while. And it was only now that it became news. And since that
Such a
time, since
wild
the
story.
story happened like a week and a half ago, now he has lost his job. The school district has said he will be stripped of his position as principal, but they're not firing him.
No.
They are moving him to somewhere else in the
Right.
district, maybe behind a desk, maybe somewhere else where he's not in charge of kids' education because he's become a major distraction, unquote.
This is my
Which,
my
fine.
favorite-
Like, by the way, he did apologize in the sense he's like, he said all the right things now.
Yeah.
He's like, this is not a thing to be neutral about. Like, of course it happened. Like, he's saying all the right things now. But again, if you're the school district, like, it shouldn't have taken all of this to
Right.
make him say that.
I pulled my information from a WGN, which is a local Chicago news station, and this is my favorite, like, kind of passive-aggressive sentence. Latson traveled to Washington to visit the U.S. Holocaust Museum and learn more about the mass genocide perpetrated by the Nazi regime that took the lives of 6 million Jews in Europe. Like, in case we were all forgetting what was going on
Right.
there.
Oh,
my God.
and I don't even know if, like, you blame this guy for the stupid thing he said.
Right.
But I wonder how much of this is the fact that he thought the Holocaust's, like, existence, the fact that it happened, has become a political, like, hot potato.
I mean, that is kind of how things are going. The more, like, the further we get into this, like, weird fake news era of our country and the
'Cause
world,
he wasn't
is-
denying it. He
no,
was
he
afraid
wasn't. He was
of
saying some people don't believe it. I
Right.
feel like if somebody said, like, "Hey, how are you teaching, like, geology?" Like, well, the round Earth is controversial at this time, and that doesn't necessarily
Right.
mean he doesn't believe in the round Earth, but he's
He's
so
trying to placate
afraid.
all sides, including the
Yeah.
crazy side.
Which they don't need placation. Like,
Right.
they need to be they just need to
By the way, I don't have this in front of me, but one of the right-wing MAGA people today
God.
literally said, it doesn't, I'm paraphrasing, this is Brendan Dilley, who's one of those million right-wing MAGA Trumpist people. He's like, it doesn't have to be true, it just has to go viral. Which is a perfect explanation of all the right-wing Trump people.
Did you see somebody interviewed at the 4th of July parade in
Yeah.
Washington, D.C.? A reporter interviewed this, like, woman in a MAGA hat.
Uh-huh.
And it was like a dissociated state. It was her saying, like, the reporter was like, so, Trump said this, that I could be shot, I could shoot somebody in Fifth Avenue and I wouldn't lose any supporters.
Right.
And the woman was like, fake news. And, like, literally just kept saying fake news. And the reporter's like, I have video I can show you. No, it's fake news. Yeah. And it's this, I think that's what, like, terrifies me the most is, I don't know what to say to that woman.
Right.
I'm like, one of the reasons I'm afraid of kids is I don't know how to logic with them. Because if somebody doesn't respond to logic, like, I don't know what to do about this.
I've gotten a lot of emails, some because of the podcast, more because of my website, where they're like, you talk a lot about politics and not really about atheism. And even the stories we've had up to this point are mostly politics. And what I wrote back to the couple of people this week alone is I'm like, look, I care about reason. I care about logical thinking, critical thinking. And at one point, maybe it was true that religion was where I thought that all hit the fan and no one cared about it.
Right.
I would argue I'm not really scared of religion as much now because the whole conservative ecosystem is way more of a logic suck than everything else. And that's where you need to focus people's critical thinking. Like,
Right.
look what they're doing. Look what's actually happening.
Well, and
like, why aren't these two things going together?
I would argue the existence of Christianity has never necessarily, like, it's been a thing I've always kind of been uncomfortable with. Like, whenever I go to church, I'm like, ugh, this feels not good for me. But that doesn't mean I think anybody's a bad person. I think where the rubber hits the road when it comes to religion is when it expands and impacts beyond its own scope. Because, like, looking at my
Who's causing
stories,
more damage in the
Right.
country? It's not Christians as a whole.
yeah,
Because there are plenty of progressive
it's
Christians
people who
too.
are.
Ignore me.
Hammond almost spilled his drink. That's a $2 IKEA wine glass he almost broke.
beautiful.
No, I think it's people that don't use logic, and that's the same way you come to a conclusion that there is a God because you're credulous, right? Like, you hear a story and it rings true to you with that. And listen, that's fine. Like, if you want to believe that, like, Jesus is watching over you, or this quartz is going to give you healing powers. Like, I don't actually care if that's your jam. But looking through what I'm going to talk about today, immunization, that's been harmed by pseudoscience, which is a part of skepticism.
And that's not just religion.
Holocaust denial, that's people denying facts. We're going to talk about somebody from Trading Spouses on TLC. Just studies about abortion.
Right.
Like
there's a lot of
homophobia.
all the
It's all of the
illogical thinking, all the stuff that is separate from reality.
Yeah.
I used to think, and maybe it was the case at one point, that it all came to a head with religion, and now no, it's all in politics, and it's all on mostly on one side.
So
that's where my focus is.
Yeah, I actually was talking. God, are you ready for the whitest shit of all time? I was
listening.
talking I was at the dog park
Uh-huh.
with my rescue dog and talking to some randos.
Were you drinking craft beer?
I was not. It was like 9:30 in the morning. Even I'm better than that. But we were talking about like monetizing the internet, like how do YouTube stars make money?
Yeah.
And I was explaining Patreon. So I was like, oh, so we've got, I have this podcast because I'm really chill and like just say I have podcasts sometimes to strangers.
God, even I don't do that.
Oh, I'm the fucking worst. This is the only good thing I have in my life besides my dog. So they're like, oh, what's your podcast? And I was like, well, it's called The Friendly Atheist, but really what it is talking about issues that deal with like LGBTQ issues and feminism and things like that. Because to me, that's the ripple effect of like a patriarchal religious core. And then it just ripples out from there.
You wouldn't have these things happening if not for that fundamentalist core.
Yeah, but I mean, I think that religion is more the symptom and not the disease. I think the disease is more, like misogyny and homophobia. I think that's all bigger, and it's just cloaked in this hood of religion, if you will. I'm not implying that all religious people are in the KKK.
Thank you.
Thank you. Can I talk about a really funny story? Yeah. Okay, Hemant, 2005. Where were you?
I don't know where I was yesterday.
Okay, fucking fine. So 2005, I was in college. I was at Ball State University, and we used to watch a lot of reality television. It was like the reality TV, like primordial soup that we saw, everything that we have now. TLC had a show called Trading Spouses.
Which is exactly what you think it is.
Yeah, it's usually the wives, but I think sometimes there's husbands, that's why they called it. And it was a pun on their own show, which was Trading Spaces, which is a pun on Trading Places. So it's a third-degree pun.
We ran out of reality show ideas very quickly.
This was like 15 years ago. So I remember watching this particular show, or at least clips of it. This was before like things went quote unquote viral.
Right.
But there was this woman, her name was Marguerite Perrin, which I defo didn't know at the time.
If you search God Warrior Trading Spouses on YouTube, you'll find this clip. Go watch that now before you listen to this.
I rewatched it today to be like, okay, here's how I remember it. There's no way it's that crazy. Guess what? Hell it is. So she essentially, they take two families that are different, and then they trade one of the parents, usually the mother. And so this was a very devout, seems to be Southern Christian with a capital C home, and then they traded with what I can convene is like a kind of pagan-y, new agey, quartzy kind of family.
So they got the Christian wife.
And then this like new agey, like I imagine she wears long flowy garments, comes to this Christian family, who the Christian family seems extremely nice and chill. And so the mom comes home and everyone is like, yeah, she was nice or chill, whatever. This woman goes ham on her family, like literally screaming about how what'd she call them? She called them dark-sided. She kept saying they're so dark-sided and starts screaming at the camera crew. She tears up the check she got because it's dark-sided money. She said, they gave me, quote, tarot cards and astrology and witch books, and I guess they did like a solstice celebration. And she was furious that this non-Christian woman came into her family's house and they didn't even question. And the part I remember so like earnestly is her screaming at her family because they didn't pray for her. And their family was like, I prayed for you every day. She's like, I couldn't hear you. You came into my mind sometime, but like they weren't praying hard enough. It is wild. It is like great, great, great television. Anyway, it's something I've always like had in the back of my mind of like this prototypical.
Because she's insane, and she was like a comical, like she's a
stereotype.
cartoonish version of
Yes.
an evangelical Christian.
Anyway, apparently this year, I don't know her whole I couldn't find much about her, but she was at like the New York City Pride Parade and is now like an LGBTQ ally.
There's hope.
So I don't know what the fuck happened in the last 15 years, but I would read a book about it. Anyway, look up that clip, and then it's just a nice ending to a story of somebody like, no pun intended, sees the light.
If the viral crazy Christian lady can do it, there's hope for everybody.
Yeah, there's hope for your weird aunt.
We have to talk about something atheism related. There's a couple of these. Okay, so this happened over the 4th of July weekend, so we didn't get to talk about it. The Metroplex Atheists in Fort Worth, they have this thing, they have an event coming up that is basically a campaign to say, let's change the motto to E pluribus unum instead of In God We Trust.
In Texas and Fort Worth or in the United States?
I mean, technically in the United States,
Which I would argue is...
I would argue I don't know they're going to get any traction, but okay, fine, raise the issue.
Yeah,
Good for
it's
you.
a great issue.
Okay, how are they raising the issue? They paid for and put up banners in the city following the city's rules, which the city's rules say you pay us this much money, you have to have these
okay,
banners.
yeah.
The banners say, in no God we trust, with no highlighted, and you have these banners everywhere. And their whole point is...
So the banners are, if you've ever been to like a medium-sized town, they're on lampposts and they're
Right.
like tall and thin
That's
along
right.
this. Like in my area, they have like spring banners and like
There
whatever
you-
upcoming thing. So it's not like across town hall
That's
or something like
exactly
that. It's
right.
just along streets.
And if you walk along streets, you're like, oh, there's 2 signs right there on
Right.
one lamppost. And you walk to the next lamppost, like, oh, there's another 2. I think they put up 60 of these around the city. Again, following the city's rules, they went through the process, they got approval. Basically, their argument, I would say, is if you're looking at that banner in No God We Trust, and you're like, what? How dare they? Their argument is, yeah, you don't like it? Well, this is what we have to deal with when we hear you say the motto.
Sure.
And it's a bad motto for that reason, so we should change it. That's their argument. And it's mostly, it includes a URL at the bottom, so you can learn more about this event and the campaign they have going on. All well and good, fine. First of all, the city says they got more than 100 complaints about the signs.
Which isn't that many complaints.
The
In
mayor...
Fort Worth, it's a big city.
It's a big city in Texas, though, and even big cities in Texas are like islands of blue.
Yeah, that's
So
true.
it's still
That's a good
surprising.
point.
But the mayor of Fort Worth was like, I was appalled when I saw the banners, blah, blah, blah. Like, and she's like, well, it is legal.
Yeah.
They're allowed to have,
Fucking
but I
fight
am
me on it, Madam Mayor.
appalled. Like, all right, thanks for that rousing support. Thanks for tolerating us.
Yeah.
But okay, they put up these banners. Good for them. They put up 66. Within about a day and a half of them putting up those banners, they were already vandalized.
How
People
many?
were cutting them up. At least 4, probably more. They actually had some replacement banners too that they replaced these with. But like it already started. Like the vandalism already started. And people were not only vandalizing it, they were like taking pictures of themselves vandalizing it, putting up photos of them
Guys,
vandalizing
be subtle
it.
for fucking once. Put on a
Dude.
mask.
Like they are like, I'm so untouchable as a Christian
Yeah.
by doing this that I'm gonna do it publicly. One spokesperson for the group even said, like, at the rate they're going, streetlights will start becoming bare at this point because they're going to rip so many of these signs down.
You said a spokesperson from
for the atheist groups.
Oh, okay.
Like,
I thought it was like
they're
whoever's heading up the vandalism
no,
crew.
but they're doing. I saw another one. Someone sent me a thing. They're like, I think this pastor is spitting on one of the banners, and I looked at it, and I think he was trying to do a joke where he does a spit take in front of the banner, but it looks like he's spitting on the banner. I don't know.
But
The overreaction to
not
these
even a good
banners. It wasn't a funny video. The overreactions are just unbelievable, but good for them. Like, it's been a long time since we've seen an atheist advertisement get any sort of traction in the media.
Back when I was writing for the blog, that was like every other article
Oh,
was
yeah.
like this
There were
billboard
like 2
was
years
vandalized.
where there was a thing anywhere. And
Yeah.
while we're at it, same story, different details. Also in Florida. So there's
on,
the
Florida.
Satanic Temple has a chapter in West Florida. And we've talked about this before. There is a giant cross in Bayview Park that is going back to the Supreme Court. Like, they want to keep this giant cross up. And the atheists are like, no, take it down. This is like a newer cross. It's totally Christian. You can't even call it a war memorial. So
Yeah.
it's not like the other one that was legal. So whatever. The Satanists are like, we want to adopt that park, put our sign up there like that says adopt a park. It's adopted by the Satanists. And they were like, this is going to be hilarious.
And then they would have to pay for the upkeep of the cross.
Not pay for it. They would just clean the area
they're like
in the
responsible.
park.
Gotcha.
That's what a lot of cities
Adopt
do, right?
a highway, I think,
adopt
yeah.
a highway, adopt a park. We'll put a sign up that says your name on it. In exchange, you do X amount of cleanups every year.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, fine. Then the city said Bayview Park is off limits to everybody, not just you. And they're like, well, all right.
That's a weird coincidence, though, that the
isn't that-
Satanists tried to adopt it. And they
Isn't
didn't
that
like
interesting? So, according to the Satanists, they got a different park nearby. So it's actually called Optimist Park. Cute name. All right. So they adopted that. They said we had already done one cleanup, and the city says we'll have a sign up within 8 weeks of you signing
sure.
the contract or whatever. And like
The
literally,
sign up saying the Satanic Temple is... Yeah.
literally the end of the 8th week. They got their sign. We got a picture of it. Great. So they have a sign at the poster. Within a day of that going up, guess what happened?
I couldn't imagine.
No, of course not. There was graffiti everywhere. There was graffiti on the sign. There was graffiti on the rail posts, like on a fence nearby.
Graffiti feels unchristian, and I'm not sure why.
So we don't know who did it. I don't know if it's a Christian or if it's someone pretending to be a Christian. But here's what it said.
Oh, that's a little conspiracy theory.
It is a
for
little
me.
conspiracy theory. But it said, the spray paint said Jesus. It said, Jesus, God will crush your hidden temple. It said, county owes answers.
They're hidden. Oh my God.
I don't even know what the...
Like Legends of the Hidden Temple?
yeah, like
Are
old
they doing like a
Nickelodeon
Nickelodeon
type of-
throwback?
Yeah, so here's the thing. Adding insult to all of that, the Satanists are like, well, should we get to work cleaning up the graffiti that we didn't even cause? But there you go. The mayor of Pensacola then says, you guys should not have gotten this park either.
Oh, Pensacola, do fucking better.
Basically, he said, I know the city said you could have it, but that's supposed to be our job to clean up because it's maybe too big for the program.
I mean, I would say graffiti is not just like take a scrub brush to it. That's probably a little more
maybe. So
into...
the Satanists are like, oh, isn't that interesting that this is the second park we wanted that you said no to?
Oh,
Well,
fuck.
So
Wait, I'm sorry. I might have misheard.
the mayor said you weren't supposed to have this park. He didn't say the graffiti's bad. He didn't say anything about
Sure.
that. He's just like, the Satanists are like, oh no, our park was graffitied. And the mayor's response is like, that ain't your park.
Oh, God.
So they're like, first of all, who's cleaning this up?
Yeah.
I don't know the answer to that yet. They were ready to clean it up, but I think the city is going to do it. But the mayor, Grover Robinson, said this should never have been on
I'm
the
sorry.
list of parks.
His name is Grover
His name is
Robinson?
whatever. My name is Hemmant. I can't make fun of
Yeah,
people's names.
that's fair.
So the Satanists are now hoping for a different park. Fine. They do hope that no one else is going to get that park because that would be a dick move. And if the city has to clean it up, they'll clean it up. But it's just telling that if this is as it seems, the Satanists signed up to clean a park, the Christians vandalized a park in response, and the mayor was like, Satanists, why are you here?
This is on
Like,
you.
Come on.
It's victim blaming all over again.
It really is.
Can I give you a happy story?
Okay.
It's not happy. It's just positive. Hey, Australia.
What did Australia do?
You guys are doing good. So Australia has broken a new record for the number of fully immunized 5-year-old kids.
Whoa.
Which is really great news. It's at 94.78, which is crazy high. And they also said that's for the March quarter, and I'm not sure if that's Q1 or Q2. I don't think that's important to what we're
First
doing
quarter,
here.
probably. But yeah.
And
so
then
like,
in March,
yeah. So beginning of the year, they have 95% vaccination rates. That's awesome.
So the
Like that's what you need for herd immunity
right,
to work.
exactly. So the world vaccination rate is about 85%. So they're destroying that. Health Minister Greg Hunt said the latest figures show that the vast majority of parents are hearing the message about the benefits of vaccinations, and I'm delighted that our public health campaigns and our immunization programs are protecting all Australians. So that's really good.
Good on them.
Big shout out to Victoria and Tasmania. You guys are doing especially well. And also, the Indigenous population is at 96.66%. So like about 2 percentage points higher than the general population. Nice. So like,
meanwhile,
good
there
on
is
you.
in New York State where they just passed a law getting rid of religious exemptions to vaccinations. There is now a lawsuit filed by one of the conspiracy theorists, Robert Kennedy, who's like, we're representing all these religious people who say it's their sincere belief not to get vaccinated.
Yeah, in the Bible, when they talk about vaccinations, it's my favorite chapter. It's Deuteronomy 4:7. Deuteronomy is definitely a book, and I only know that because of the musical Cats.
I'm going to jump to this one really quick because it's also insane. And I think we've talked about this a little bit before. A new survey from YouGov says that 67% of Republicans believe flag burners should lose their citizenship.
Whoa!
67%.
What?
Yeah. The First Amendment, they just totally skipped. Yeah, you should not be allowed to be a U.S. citizen if you burn the flag, even though that is literally protected by the First Amendment.
I moved so far from this mic because I screamed so loud. Lose their citizenship.
Yeah, stripped of their citizenship.
Holy Christ.
Yeah. This
What
comes
the
after
fuck,
comes
guys?
after a Republican senator said we should pass a constitutional amendment to ban flag burning, which violates the First Amendment.
Mm-hmm.
And Trump said that's a good idea, which violates the First Amendment. This survey is like, no, Republicans just don't care about the First Amendment if you're doing something they don't like. By the way, not that Democrats get off scot-free here.
Lose their citizenship.
You be deported somewhere to your real country. I don't know.
Where would I go if I lost my American citizenship?
23andMe, that shit. I don't know.
Honestly, I'd probably move to Scotland. I think I have Irish roots, but Scotland's dope as fuck.
That's the whitest thing you said in the podcast. 24% of Democrats said the exact same thing.
24% of Democrats?
Yeah.
Y'all, do you not watch the news? Black people are getting shot by cops. We're putting Mexican kids in cages, and you're worried about burning a piece of cloth? Can we talk for a second? Because your priorities are fucked up.
They're not Mexican. They're not all Mexican.
No, you're
Some are
right.
Central American.
They're Central American.
That's the new whitest thing you said.
Okay, listen,
But
I was ranting. I'm not...
back to your point that this is like the Republicans as a majority here, they care more about symbols of patriotism than like actual love of the country. This is what they always do. It's the same thing with the pledge. It's the same thing with the Star-Spangled Banner. It's why they hate Colin Kaepernick. It's like they care more about symbols that show you love America than actually trying to make America better.
Oh, that's the thing I always think about.
Or pointing out its flaws
when
or
people
whatever.
complain about Kaepernick, let's use that, of taking a knee, is like what veterans go through in this country is abhorrent. And if you really care about veterans, like, you should maybe want to get them better health care and be less concerned about whether, like, a 900 square foot flag is being flown properly at a football game.
And by the way, on Fox, this is on July 4th weekend, on Fox News, the host Julie Banderas said on a show called Outnumbered, just randomly, and she didn't get any pushback for this, blah, blah, blah. It's a crime to burn the American flag.
It's hella not Julie.
Yeah.
Julie was
It is not. And by the way, later that day, someone must have told her, because she said later on a different show, mind you, it's not technically illegal to burn a flag due to free speech and the Constitution.
How inconvenient for you,
She didn't need the word
Julie.
technically.
Yeah,
Like,
no. Words have meanings, and we just need to, like, acknowledge them.
That's the form of an apology that we're going to get.
Technically.
Yeah, I got one last one for you.
Okay.
In the UK, this is good news coming out of the UK, where they also don't have a lot. The British Social Attitudes Report. It comes out every year. It's a big survey with a lot of data.
It's annual, you said?
Yes.
Okay.
If you're a data nerd, you love this survey because it's just,
Like
they have so much
you
data.
are?
Yes. So they just put out information about religious identity.
Okay.
And Christian affiliation is lower now than ever before. More than half of people say they have no religious affiliation at all.
More than half?
More than half.
I'd be curious. Do you have numbers for people who use the A word, who say I'm an atheist?
I don't have the A word. I have no religion. And no religion
Okay.
has gone from about 32%
To more than half?
to 52% now.
Wow.
Yeah.
In a year?
It's from 1983.
Oh.
For Christians, it has
okay.
gone from 66% Christians in 1983 to 38% now. That is lower today than ever. Like,
I
and
mean, isn't surprising, but it's interesting.
it's not surprising, but why is it happening? Because older people are dying. They're being replaced by younger, unaffiliated people.
Right.
People are less religious than their parents. And this is what I found interesting. We're now at the point where you're having second, third generation non-religious. So your parents are not raising you in religion. So you have even less of a reason to follow that.
What would you say, baby boomers were the last, like, capital R religious generation?
Without getting into the generation names, because I don't know the answer, like our age, mid-30s-ish, like our parents are probably religious and they raised us in religion, but those
we're
of
having
us
kids.
who are having kids, there's more of us raising our kids without religion, which means our kids are like, you think they're going to voluntarily choose to believe
it's not that
the
it
nonsense?
never happens, but it's very infrequent. I mean, I have two lapsed Catholic parents, and they're baby boomers, both of them. So like, yeah, it's
like religion kind of makes sense when it's passed down generation after generation. It's like, well, that's a weird story, but like when you grow up with it, fine.
I mean,
but who's like, well, I didn't believe in Catholicism, but now I believe this cracker is Jesus, literally. You don't like voluntarily choose that when you're 30.
And how dare you?
Who chooses that myth when you're in your 30s or something?
If I got to drink wine at 10 a.m. on a Sunday, like...
You can do that without religion.
Oh, I forgot. Thank you, boxed wine.
Oh, I lied. I'm sorry. I do have one more that is ridiculous. I'm sorry. This will be fast.
No, it's fine.
There is... in the Catholic Church, if you want to become a saint or you want to become whatever it is, you have to have a miracle attributed to you.
If I want to become a saint, if Jessica Blumke wants to become a saint.
Yeah, so if you want to become Saint Teresa or whatever it is.
Saint Jessica.
Yeah, you have to have a couple of miracles on your name, on your resume.
Best dog ever.
No, doesn't count. Has to be supernatural.
2, this podcast is successful.
No.
That's supernatural. No. You can't convince me otherwise.
Well played. So there's this guy, Archbishop Fulton Sheen. He died in 1979.
Okay.
He was actually a big deal in the 50s. Like he was on TV a lot. Mm-hmm. People knew him. He was kind of your gateway into the Catholic Church if you weren't one.
Okay.
So he was well known at the time, like very charismatic TV presence. Mm-hmm. Okay, he died in 79. It's been more than 40 years, roughly now.
About 40 years.
And now Pope Francis this week declared him fit for beatification, which is on the road to becoming a saint, but you need a miracle attributed to you. And that means Pope Francis literally said, oh, here's the incident report of the miracle that he caused. Yup, it had to be a miracle. I'll sign off on it.
What was it?
Here's the miracle.
I'm dying.
There is a woman named Bonnie Engstrom. She's a Catholic mother of 8. She had a son.
That's a miracle.
She had a son about a decade ago, literally a decade ago, like late 2000, whatever. Her son was born with the umbilical cord wrapped around his neck. Devastating situation.
Sure.
He was not breathing for like an hour. They thought he was dead. Like they thought he was going to die right after he was born. Then the doctors found his heart beating and like he survived. And today, he's 9 years old, 10 years old. He's still, there's no lasting damage from that umbilical cord incident. And the parents say, well, we prayed to Archbishop Fulton Sheen to intervene on our son's behalf at the time, and now he's fine. That's it. That's the whole story. He was already dead for about 30 years at this point, but Pope Francis said, well, he heard that story. He's like, yup, no other explanation. Had to have been that guy. He's on the road to becoming a saint now because there's no other explanation other than supernatural whatever.
Religion is wild. That's so bonkers.
Yup. There's actually a book written by the family. It's coming out this September called 61 Minutes to a Miracle. Yep.
That's weird because my mom's identical twin sister died that way in 1955. Do you think my grandmother did not pray hard enough?
That is exactly why it happened.
Oh, yep. That's too bad. I should. My nanny lives over in a nursing home in Downers Grove. I'll go tell her that. Yeah. Cool as usual, Christians. I've got 2 quick stories. Yep. One is just a study by the University of Utah. So and I think this is interesting. I'm not sure how I feel about it. They took a look at the impact of abortion on boys. So they studied boys and men who reported a pregnancy at the age of 20 or younger.
And they would have been the fathers.
Where they would have been the father and said, okay, did your partner get an abortion or did she not? And so Dr. Bethany Everett said that there have been studies that looked at women's use of abortion and its impact on their future socioeconomic status. However, no research has been done on the use of abortion and the future of men's socioeconomic study.
So they basically said, okay, you said you're the father.
Right.
And your partner either had an abortion or had the baby. Let's see how the guys are doing now.
Yeah.
And what do they find after that?
So they found about 10 years after the either birth or abortion, only 6% of men whose partner had live births had graduated from college, and that's compared to 22% of men whose partner terminated.
So almost 4 times of the abortion men.
Yeah. Here's what I think is more interesting, though. It didn't have any effect on the wages.
Huh.
So whether or not you graduated college, you had a similar wage. So I don't know what to do with that. I mean, not that there's anything, it's numbers, it is what it is. But I think it's really interesting that people who graduated college didn't necessarily go on to like make more money.
Right.
I mean, regardless, it doesn't matter what happened to the dude to me. Like,
it's possible that if the woman had an abortion and the guys ended up going to college and graduating from college, they get whatever job they get. It is also possible that if they had a baby, they realize, oh shit, I need to make money, so I'm going to work extra hard to make whatever money. Yeah. So it offsets in a certain way.
Well, and also, like, what this doesn't show me is how many hours are they working a week per, like,
right,
you know what I mean? Like, if you didn't graduate college and thereby you're working 60 hours a week to make as much or more as somebody who graduated. I mean, we
don't know necessarily what jobs they're doing either. Because again, what type of relationship and home background do you have if you're getting pregnant in high school, or you have to make that decision because I would think more upper class, wealthier neighborhoods or whatever, abortion is more of an option.
Oh, yeah.
And contraception is more available.
And even beyond that, if I'm working class, I'm likely not going to have my parents' support. Like, if I got pregnant at 18, 19, 20, my parents would have kicked in for me.
Right.
So it would have been less important for me to, like, I guess what I'm saying is this is
a lot of
an interesting
here.
study. I don't know how to draw conclusions, but I don't know, it's interesting nonetheless. And finally, my last one, our favorite group. 1 Million Moms.
Yes, all one of them.
So have you seen the new Toy Story? Have you brought your human children?
I didn't know. I heard that it was Toy Story 4. I did not know there was a 3.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, so I saw I saw all first 3 in movie theaters over the span of 20 years or whatever. I saw Toy Story 3 and cried so hard, I think I embarrassed myself. So, and I've heard that Toy Story 4 is more as if not more emotional. Literally there's a scene in Toy Story 3 when all the toys are accepting death and hold each other's hands. I died inside. Anyway, so for that reason I haven't seen Toy Story 4. I can't be allowed in public.
Okay.
But anyway, 1 Million Moms, they decided they're going to boycott Toy Story 4, one of the arguably the most successful movie franchises of all time, because there is a background scene of a couple that is 2 interracial moms picking up their kids. So these characters...
So a random scene where 2 characters who don't even probably have names.
They have no names. They have no lines. They have no appearance in the foreground. I'm going to actually show you. There's a clip of seeing this family. That's the screen grab of it.
You can barely even see them.
They had to circle it. So
they're not even in the center of the image.
They're not even fucking focus. But 1 Million Moms said that it blindsides families. The subtlety of their inclusion is, in its mind, a cunning effort to desensitize women to the horrors of a child with 2 loving parents. That's this article I read.
So 1 Million Moms, which is actually one mom, is mad at 2 moms for appearing.
The scene was included and intentionally not announced prior to the movie's release in hopes it would be kept quiet and expose as many children as possible.
Why wasn't this scene with extras in the trailer?
Why didn't they give me a press release?
Yeah, about the scene that takes, 2 seconds?
I mean, if that, obviously I haven't seen it, but I would like to 1 million moms,
What do you think
they
happens
boycotted.
to all one of the 1 million moms
I'm sorry.
when something of actual consequence
So
happens?
they tried to get 1 million, it's 1 million moms, so if obviously 1 million moms would sign their petition. Guess how many signed?
How many signed the petition?
About 13,000, which is just 987,000 signatures shy of 1 million. Like,
God.
so fucking close, gals. You're doing your fucking best. Also, the movie has grossed $663 million worldwide. So, like, we all did our best, didn't we? We're all doing what we can
man.
to make the world a better place.
I've reached out a couple of times to Monica Cole to talk to
Oh my
her.
God,
She
do you
never
think she'll
writes
come
back.
on our
She will
show?
not. I've tried so hard.
Hammett, do you have any good news or anything good to talk about?
I will say that, okay, so I've been working, you guys know this, I've been working on this podcast forever about the Pledge of Allegiance.
No, this podcast, our podcast, yours
Not
and
our
my
podcast. I don't work
that
on
you
this
work-
one. The one I've been working on about the Pledge of Allegiance, it's called Church State Separation. It's called the Supreme Court versus Church State Separation
Okay.
is the name of the podcast. I'm like 99% done with it. By the time we talk next week, hopefully the first thing I tell you will be it is now available.
And the second thing you'll say is donate to our Patreon.
Right, that
because-
too. So anyway, I finished it up though this week, and it's like I have all the audio files finally. It's just a matter of getting it up there. So it's finally done.
Congrats,
That is
buddy.
what I
that's
finished
a,
this
That's
week.
a big,
So,
big
yay.
undergoing. I'm very happy
Yes,
for
thank you. How about you?
I read this dope book called Red, White, and Royal Blue, and I want to shout it from the rooftops. It is a liberal, like, wet dream.
By who?
Don't know. We'll find out. You look it up while I talk about
will.
it. It's a gay romance novel about the first female president's son who falls in love with the equivalent of like the Prince Harry of England.
Casey McQuiston.
I read it in 24 hours. It is
Has a lot of good reviews.
It's great. I cannot recommend it more highly. I enjoyed the fuck out of reading it, and I keep yelling at people that they need to read it. 10 out of 10 would recommend.
All right.
And
Sweet.
like the kid is it's such a like a liberal's wet dream because like there's a trans character that like the main characters are half Mexican. It's the first female president.
God, 1
They
million
talk
moms
about
is
all
gonna
the-
hate
oh,
this.
they hate it so much. It's like this gay romance story. I'm obsessed with it. Might I read it again? Maybe. Who knows? I don't have anything going on in my life right now. Also, I do want to thank listeners. Last week or last time we talked, I said, please order shit at my Etsy shop because I need money. I'm out of a job. And y'all came through in such a big way. I got so many custom orders, and I'm so grateful for all of you. And then my stupid dog got stupid sick, and so all of that Etsy money went to my stupid dog. But Dottie's going to be fine, right, Dottie?
Yay.
She's asleep. Check if she's not. Is she dead?
Hopefully not.
Dottie?
We'll talk to everyone next.
Okay, she's alive. You can email us at friendlyatheispodcast@gmail.com. You can follow me on Twitter at Blueberry, BLUEBURIE. You can follow Hammett at Hammett Meta. Patreon.com/friendlyatheispodcast. If you want to kick in, we're going to do a meetup sometime this
Soon.
summer, and
We'll
we'll
figure
figure
that
it out when I have a moment. We'll talk to you next week. Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.